Marianne with the Sustainable Living Podcast. Hey, I'm back for another week in a row after almost, well over a year. So I don't want to say it was 2 years almost, but much over a year of not recording. And I want to give a huge shout out to Tracy Larson, who reached out to me via email, via no, it's not just Sustainable Living Podcast at gmail.com, and gave me tons of encouragement to continue with the podcast. So thank you so much, Tracy. That really, really means a lot to me. It looks to me that Tracy is, I don't know what her role is, but that she's part of Lola Danger, which is an organization in the LA area refilling beauty items and other household items so we don't need to use so much plastic bottles. And that is really a huge thing to do, and I think it's wonderful. So maybe someday we are even going to talk on the podcast with her. The whole plastic thing brings me to today's topic of sustainable shopping. I just feel that even if you try really hard to avoid plastic in the house, there still seems to be a lot of it coming in. And one of the examples I have for you is, let's say you go shopping at Costco or some other big store like that, where you can buy things in fairly big amounts, which big amounts is definitely a strategy of avoiding packaging. But let's say you buy 3 bottles of, and I'm saying bottles here or jars of tomato sauce. So you're doing good. It's glass. Glass is recyclable. The lid should be recyclable. But so 3 glass jars are wrapped in plastic. So it's really, really, really hard to get away from it. First off, if you're hardcore, you obviously grow your own tomatoes, you make your own tomato sauce, and you can set using glass jars you can use over and over again. That requires, some home canning equipment. It requires time. It requires talent in the garden. After that, the next option is you still make your own sauce in jars you can use over and over and over again, but you buy your tomatoes and all the other ingredients, hopefully from a local farmer, or even maybe you have a friend who loves the garden and grows incredible amounts of tomatoes and whatever else goes into the sauce and shares it, right? So that's like the homesteader's dreams, the sustainable preppers, or, somebody who wants to go back to a simpler life. That said, for a lot of people, that's just not possible for many, many reasons. Maybe you don't have space to garden. Maybe you just don't like canning. Maybe whatever, or no time. There's, all the different reasons we have for not doing things, including, which is also a valid reason, we just don't want to. That happens, that's okay. So, which is the next best step to get a bunch of tomato sauce into your house without the use of plastic? It being all wrapped up in plastic, giving you an item you either have a hard time finding a recycling space for, you hold on to forever because you don't want it to go to the landfill and it's hard to find every use, or some of the reuses which can be done with plastic bags are not very useful, or it ends up going into the landfill and it breaks your heart. So another way would be to have somebody else who loves to garden, who loves to loves to do all those things, and you trust their skills. So this is to think about when I should finish my thought first, right? So you trade with that person, you barter with them, or you pay them outright and say, hey, I'd rather pay you to give me said tomato sauce than I pay the big store, right? So if you use especially canned item from other people, I would suggest to make sure that you know what their level of understanding of the process is, and to also be comfortable with their care they take into being clean about it. Canning, in my opinion, requires that you pretty much clear the area where you're working. I want to say sterilize, but basically clean it very well. Use vinegar or whatever your preferred method of germ killing is, and just be very, very careful with the whole process. So for me, I would only eat canned items or certain prepared items from people I'm familiar with, and I'm sure that they're practicing safe methods. So that was kind of a side just popped into my head when it comes to bartering, that you kind of want to know who you're bartering with, depending on what it is you're getting. So that's one option, to find a friend, somebody in your community you feel meets all your standards, and that you either trade or pay for the item. Another option is to join a co-op such as Asher, which I used to pronounce Azure. So I think there people it's spelled AZC as in zoo, which I never can pronounce any of that. So last letter of the alphabet, URE. So I say Azure. I learned that people here usually say Asher. It is a big co-op which is coming out of Oregon, and they deliver all over the place. So you could say that things coming from Oregon to, for example, my city, San Diego, or to Texas, or to wherever you happen to be, that's a long journey for the truck to take to bring you your items you're ordering, which is true. But it's also true that just about anything you buy in the store has been coming from a distance away. So you can contain the amount of items you get at one time. Because I don't know if it makes sense if we do the math saying, okay, you buy 20 items at the store, the carbon footprint is bigger than if you buy it from the co-op. I don't know. But from the co-op, it gives you the option to buy things truly in bulk. So let's go back to our example of the tomato sauce. Instead of buying 3 jars, you might want to order a whole case. This is an item which will last, so you will get it in a box, which is still packaging, but that packaging could be reused, recycled, or used in the garden, for example. And it's definitely not plastic. So we are one ahead here. Other things I personally order from the co-op are big bags of pulses and grains. Some of them I used to feed my chicken. They're coming in a big paper bag again, or not paper. It's it's kind of paper, but thick, thick, thick paper, and that paper can be reused, recycled, put into compost, be the basis for your worm compost, for example. And if you, let's say, have 25 pounds or 50 pounds of beans of any kind, that food lasts you for a long time. Now, again, if you don't eat that much yourself, this is an item which could be shared with others. It's fairly easy to trade. Let's say you bought 50 pounds of black beans, right? So you could divvy them up and tell your friends, say, bring me a container, and this is how much I paid per pound. You can pay me the same amount. Everybody gets a cheaper price, and there's no plastic bags involved, all of that. Or you could even go one step further and say, I'm cooking black beans today. Who would like some black beans? And then trade the already cooked beans. Just some ideas. I found for myself when the COVID time hit us, and we are, I guess, most of us are still in a position of mostly being at home and being asked to only go out if really necessary, said I didn't find it necessary to go out at all. So I'm very privileged since I have a garden and I have not a huge house, but I have a house. So personally, I didn't feel any need to go anywhere but into my garden. And there were some items I like fresh, like I like cream in my coffee, that I was able to have my children get for me. But that's not really the point of me not going anywhere and being very happy to not go anywhere. The point is that even without that, I could live for a long time without having to go to the store because those the tactics have been for me to buy things in bulk. And if you adjust what you eat and what you need, then it's fairly easy to do. Now, not everybody has a garden, but one thing everybody can do at home is, for example, grow microgreens. And I use containers which I've made it into my house where they're usually plastic, which I don't want to just get rid of, give it another use or many uses. And really, you can use reuse or upcycle or however you want to call it, just about any container to grow microgreens in and have fresh food available. If you have a garden, sustainable shopping could be trading with somebody else who has a garden and happens to grow other things that you don't have. One thing people might say, hey, we are supposed to not get together, and how can trading be done with the whole idea about social distancing and so forth? So I'm giving you an example what I do with a friend of mine. She makes the best kombucha ever. And I used to make my own kombucha, and it's not that difficult, but it's one more thing to do. And I think many of us find that we already have too many things to do. And one more thing, even if it's only a 5 minute or 10 minute or whatever time it is, might just be one more thing too much. Just not possible. Plus my Scoopy died, and I just was like, okay, this means maybe I don't need to do that right now. So my friend is making this most delicious kombucha. I have chickens which lay more eggs than I can eat. And now we have a regular trade going. So she lets me know when a kombucha is ready. And then I trade her eggs and things I have from the garden or other things she needs. And we just communicate via text. And then when the day comes, I have her items in front of my door and she drops off what she is bringing me. Sometimes we visit just from a distance away, and sometimes we don't end up seeing each other. So there are always ways to do it without really needing to be in each other's space, if that is a concern. Personally, I believe that we are looking at least a couple of years of things being strange. And I know that there are a lot of people out there which believes that COVID is not anything more than a flu. I look at numbers and I think it's a lot more than a flu, but it's not here or there. A lot of people are going to have to make personal choices how much they want to be out there. And I'm pretty sure that I already have made the choice for myself that I want to not step into paranoia, but I also want to be aware and careful and probably will not be in huge crowds for a while or maybe for a long time. So again, this is personal and this is not necessarily what I wanted to talk about. I really feel we need to explore and think about is how quickly the economies, the supplies, the everything kind of became uncertain, and start thinking about how can we create a different economy? How can we create a livelihood or a life where we can support each other in community, take care of our planet, and live a good life? Not go back to living like the pioneers did, who were sometimes starving in the winter or who had very little. Or, when you read a lot of the old stories, who worked all day long and had no time to enjoy life. That's not what we want. And we don't want to say no to technology. Obviously not, because I'm doing a podcast here, which is being delivered through technology and it's using energy. So I'm not saying let's go back to not doing all of those things, but let's do them in a way that we all can benefit from it and still leave our earth to live on for our children. So I wanted to start with this, so I'm going to end with it. I broke up with Amazon. If you have ever gone to our website, we used to have like a link to Amazon and some advertising for it. And I know that a lot of people are using it, whatever, are using the service. Throughout the years, I have gotten more and more uncomfortable with what is going on there. I have personal friends who have been making a living selling on Amazon and have seen them struggle with new restrictions being put in place, which makes it harder and harder for independent sellers to actually make a good living. The push towards even small people needing to do free shipping, which ends up that they can't really make money anymore on the items. And just what you hear about how people are being pushed to working really hard, how it's a hostile work environment, how there were no, during this time of the COVID pandemic, no real systems put in place to protect the workers. Just a lot of reasons why I said, well, I don't really feel like wanting to make advertisement for them. And it will be interesting to see how I can avoid them. And I'm somebody who doesn't shop a whole lot, but I certainly have used Amazon before. For example, I need a new pop filter for my microphone, so I'm not popping all over the place for you into your ears. And, it's like Amazon comes up first always when you put a search in. But I will talk about more about different ways I find to practice sustainable shopping. I think this is enough for today. I would love to hear your ideas. How are you putting sustainable shopping into practice? What are your ideas, your tips? Let me know. And also let me know what you like to hear, what other topics you like to hear. The best way to reach us is sustainablelivingpodcast@gmail.com. I do have accounts on Instagram and Facebook. Again, I'm not a huge fan of some, should we say, traditional social media. I'm on some platforms which are blockchain based and crypto based, but most people are not there. So, yeah, best way to reach me is via email. I don't want to make any promises, but I try to be more active on the other social medias. Bye for now. Talk to you soon.